coming on this miserable night. Would have been more miserable at footy, I think, especially judging by the score. We're just going to swing straight into a video that we've got, which will get us all in the mood.
I've sailed all around Australia on different offshores, and this is the best, man.
That's been put together by quite a few people, but Jordan and Tracy had a fair bit to do with it, and the one and only down here. The event's been really successful. Obviously, we've had lots of positive feedback. We've still got a few boats up there. There's still 5 boats up there. We haven't decided to come back yet. Because it's been successful, the committee's agreed to, well, the club's agreed to run it again. So, May 2023. 6th of May, we've organised a full moon, so that'll be quite good. There's a hell of a lot of work goes into this, as you appreciate. We had quite a few suggestions that we run it next year, but really with the amount of work and the commitment for the club and the volunteers, it's just a bridge too far. So 2 years seems like a reasonable length of time, even though we've got the notice of race pretty much done for the next one now, so we're well on the way to get organising it. I think one of the real positives of this was the community engagement. The race was great, obviously, but what we managed to do for the PNC, the school up there, and for those that were there on the open day was something really special. So know what we've done right this time around. We've got a few things we've got to tidy up and improve. And the purpose tonight is to just go through the results of the questionnaire, and Ian's going to do that, and Cam's going to just run through the actual race operation. So there was a lot of stuff happened behind the scenes. There was a few incidents that we want to bring out, minor. But I'll hand over to Cam now. He's going to run through those.
My little presentation is nowhere near as exciting as what you've just seen. A little bit dry, but basically we just want to go through, as Mike said, some of the background stuff that went on and how the race unfolded for us here in Perth in race control. So if we go to the next slide. Okay, cool. So look, broadly speaking, the race control aspect of the event unfolded as planned. Race control were able to maintain contact with the fleet at all times and record their positions for the duration of the event. Race control was also able to deal with the minor incidents as they happened, report to the incident management team as required, and to deal with outside agencies as required as well. Next one. Thanks. So just to start off with just some basic statistics to do with the communications. This is from the start of testing before the event to the end of the event. So satellite phone calls sent and received. This is from the one race control phone we were using. That was the one number that you were calling. So we had 159 phone calls for the duration of the event. We had 36 sced position reports. That was when you were all being with Geraldton. We had 305 log entries, so that was 305 skeds over the entire fleet for the entire amount of time of the race. Out of that 305, excuse the typo there, 3-4, that should be a 5, we had 2 missed. So very good result there. Satellite text messages sent and received for the duration was 1,300 plus. I stopped counting. A little bit difficult to put them all in, but on average each boat was between 30 and 40 text messages for the duration to make their skeds and position reports and with testing. Calls between race control and the water police was 3. Calls between the water police and a participant in the race was 2. Emails between race control and the water police was 6. Calls between race control and the event doctor was 2. And the fastest sked, well done rally fleet, was 3 minutes. So that was the entire rally fleet skedded and replied to in 3 minutes, or just under. So satellite phones. Generally, the satellite phones performed well during testing before the event. We noticed and advised of some technical issues with the Optus satellite network, which fortunately were resolved just before the event started. During the event, the satellite phones continued to perform well. Race control received all satellite sced text messages apart from 2, as I alluded to in the previous page. 4 boats consistently had trouble receiving our communication replies back to them. We resorted to email and VHF relay confirmations initially for those boats. As we got a bit further down the road, we advised those boats that we would be in contact with them should they not receive our replies back, and that allowed them to be able to continue sailing without being concerned about whether we were receiving their skeds or not. Some other boats in the fleet, sometimes intermittently and randomly, did not receive our confirmation replies. It was for this reason that we asked boats to reply copy to our communications, which we started on the second day. This allowed us to work out who was having trouble receiving and who wasn't, and the frequency of the failures, which wasn't a great amount. A small quantity of text transmissions that we sent out seemed to have a delay of sometimes up to hours before boats received them, yet at our end we didn't have any delays from the fleet transmitting back to us. But broadly, satellite phone communications is not a perfect medium, and the anomalies in the service we experienced were minimal and to be expected. Overall, it worked very well, probably exceeded our expectations. Okay, next one. So, email. Prior to departure, 3 boats eventually failed to get their email working despite a lot of effort. I know that because I was working with them to try and get it working. Email was utilised by a couple of boats who were having trouble with their sat phones with that receiving problem that I was talking about, but its usage was generally low. It's possible, Mike mentioned the notice of races coming out, it's possible that email might be a highly recommended, have a highly recommended status in the next race, so it won't be mandatory, but we would highly still recommend it because it did get used. YB tracker messaging was not used at all. Not one single message was sent or received with YB tracking, but we will continue to use it because it's there anyway, and it's a really good backup. Yeah, probably fortunately it didn't have to get used. HF radio, a few boats made unofficial calls during the unofficial skeds that we did every day. The Barrett Communications remote HF radio system worked well, and we'll continue to use that in the next event. So Marine VHF. VHF was used to relay sat phone messages from race control to some boats, as I said before, with satellite phone issues. All fairly normal with VHF. You guys were probably using it out there. We don't know because we simply can't hear it. Race control do acknowledge the VHF performance in the vicinity of Cape Morat was very, very poor, possibly due to interference from the defence installation nearby, which we didn't factor in. We did ask the last boat around to test the 2 repeater channels up there, which worked perfectly, so next time we'll just simply use those rather than 7.2. So I've just titled this Systems Performance because this is our internal systems, and we just wanted to show you sort of what we were doing and how that worked in the background. So in this slide you can see on the right there that's some software called MySMS. And so every time you sked in or do your position report, this is how we see it, as well as on the individual phone. So anyone can log into this, anyone from race control. And that's literally how we reply to you every day. You can see we've got atomic blonde there, and you can see copy, atomic blonde logged, etc. And you can see a path of communication. So that worked well. The remote access to that worked very well. And the good thing about this is it provides a very, very accurate and permanent log of all the communications that transpired. Single source documentation. We had all the important documents were available for all parties. That's race control, incident management team, AMSA, the water police, all had access to the critical documents, including the log and positions of all the boats, and that was in a OneDrive folder. Everyone was able to utilise that. We had no problems there, so that worked well. The skeds and communications log, this is our very small part of a very big spreadsheet, which we enter in all your positions after we've done the sked for you. It goes directly into this. This is in that live folder, which the police, AMSA, etc. also have access to, so that worked really well. Another permanent record of everything that happened. So we've got all of our skeds there. There's a comments log and a positions report as well. So that worked really well. Okay, so incidents. So there were 5 low-level incidents during the event. All 5 of them were reported to the incident management team in compliance with the Emergency Management Handbook. Daily updates of the event progress were also made to the IMT leader by race control. So I'm just going to go through these incidents briefly because they're just a really good example of what can happen and how we dealt with it. Going forward, it's really good information for us. So incident 1, yacht versus Craypot. This was Sunday, May the 9th, 7:16 p.m. These are very brief descriptions of what happened, but it'll give you an idea. Race control received a sat phone call from a yacht who had observed another yacht going around in circles for some 15 minutes. Race control requested that the calling yacht proceed to the yacht in question and see if they needed assistance. Race control also asked another yacht just south of the Craypot yacht to proceed to that yacht as backup. Fortunately, all three yachts established comms on VHF, and the yacht in question was able to free itself without assistance. But the important thing here is that a yacht observed another yacht in trouble, and they did exactly the right thing, contacted us. We were able to direct them because we could see what was going on Yellow Brick Tracker, and it all worked out okay. So that was a really good outcome. So incident 2, same day, a little bit later in the night, 10:35 p.m, Race Control received a sat phone call from a yacht advising they had rig and steering damage but did not require assistance. Race Control and the calling yacht stayed in contact via sat phone over the next 24 hours until the yacht was safely berthed in Denham. So we just stayed in contact with each other, we worked out a plan of what they were going to do, we got some information of what they could get in Denham to help them out, and that's what happened. They got into Denham, sorted themselves out, and were able to continue on to Exmouth. Also with the assistance of another vessel, I'll add, they helped us out as well. So incident 3, accidental AIS MOB beacon activation. Monday the 10th at 7:35 p.m, Race Control received a text message from a yacht who advised there was an accidental AIS MOB beacon activation on board. The yacht also advised they had advised over VHF radio of the accidental activation, so they did exactly the right thing there. That was a good outcome. Incident 4, Monday the 10th again, this time 4:29 p.m, Race Control received a text message relating to a medical issue on board. Collaboratively, Race Control, the event doctor, and the calling yacht were able to negotiate a plan for the patient to disembark in Denham and seek further medical attention if required. A backup plan was also agreed upon in case of an escalation of the medical issue or a requirement for the on-water assistance, on-water assistance en route to Denham, because they had to do a 12-hour trip from where they were into the Denham. That situation also resolved itself as planned and didn't require any further action from us. So incident 5, this was the last low-level incident we had. Another accidental AIS MOB beacon activation, although this one's a little bit different. So Race Control received a phone call from the Water Police advising, this is 7:17 at night, we received a phone call from the Water Police advising that Dampier Port had contacted them. They had heard a call over VHF radio that one of the event yachts relating to an AIS MOB activation. The Water Police advised Race Control that they had called the yacht in question via satellite phone from the comms quick reference guide that Race Control had provided. The yacht in question then called the Water Police back to advise that the AIS MOB beacon activation was an accidental false alarm. This information was then forwarded back to Race Control by the Water Police. So again, the people on board that yacht did exactly the right thing. What's interesting with this one is that Dampier Port picked it up, called the Water Police. The Water Police had all of your information, your MMSI numbers and your satellite phones. They were able to look up that particular yacht and call them immediately. So that was a really good outcome as well, and it showed that our planning with the Water Police had worked. So just the last little sort of slide in closing, just I guess a bit of a statement from us, and basically it's this, it is the opinion of Race Control that all of the incidents on water were handled exceptionally well by all skippers and crew. All the correct actions were taken at the appropriate times. On water and post-event reporting by skippers and crew was excellent. Broadly, the conduct and cooperation from skippers and crew from the point of view of Race Control was excellent. We very much appreciate your support in this area, so well done. Just one last thing. This is quite nice. This is a official email from our main contact at AMSA, Paul Sakezi. This was just a sign-off email of me notifying that the race was finished. He said here, sorry for the very late response, things got a bit hectic. This was just after the Indonesian fishing boat got into trouble just off the coast. They were dealing with that. I'm glad I could be of some assistance and was happy to see things went smoothly. The planning at your end was comprehensive and was a good case study on how to manage things well. If you ever need any information, let me know. I'll be happy to help. Thanks, Paul Sagezi. So that was a really good outcome. Thank you. And that's all I've got. Unless anyone's got any quick questions, we'll go on to Ian. Ian's going to... no questions. Great.
I'm going to take you through some of the results of the survey that was sent out and people filled in, and I'm actually standing for Bill Henson, by the way, who unfortunately is double booked tonight, so he sends his apologies. But we'll take you through it. Some of this is a bit dry, it's lots of statistics and bar charts and that sort of thing, but hopefully I can guide you through it. It'll be on the web as well, so if you really want to get into the detail, you'll be able to do that. Okay, first of all, there was quite a very good response actually. I think of 36 boats or something like that. There were 24 skippers who responded and quite a few crew members as well, so I think that was always good in terms of getting a response back on a survey. I know we all have to do surveys, but it will save some time for this. So we'll just take you through some of the statistics that sort of came out of the survey and briefly run through this. I think this, if you recall, it was there was some series of questions and people were asked to respond in terms of their satisfaction about the events that were planned, from low in the blue there up to high satisfaction. In some cases they're also asked whether they attended the functions, and really this is to help planning with the next race, that to look at, you know, what things people were interested in and perhaps how we better plan some of these briefing sessions. So I think just focusing on in general, I guess you see this high satisfaction, the sort of the green and the purple, and I think really across all of the events and activities, including the briefings, there was very good satisfaction. People were pretty happy with the material that was presented and the activities that were scheduled. I think obviously down some of the areas here, there's one or two concerns, and I think people also reflected, and we'll come to this in the end. People made good use of the comments, the feedback, as well as the data in here, and we've looked at that as well, and that'll be good information for planning the next event. Just the yellow bars indicated, it's interesting, this is the people who didn't attend these events, but which ones were the popular ones and which ones were not so. But obviously out of the survey response, quite a good attendance at most of the events that were held. And I'm not sure why people weren't too many. The Helga's function, I always enjoy sort of stapling up pig's trotters, so maybe that puts some people off.
When was it?
Was it about 2 or 3 weeks? 3 weeks before the race?
Yeah. I don't remember it. That's how good it was. I don't remember being notified for it.
It was a timing. Wasn't it just before Good Friday? Easter?
Could have been. I was a bit surprised by this because I was there, and
I think I find that it was a timing that was poor.
It could be, yeah. There was still quite a few people who did attend, so I'm a little surprised. But maybe it is a timing thing, something that we can look at. Maybe getting out some, you know, information on these sessions a little earlier. Maybe that'll help. So maybe that's a good point. Just flipping now to looking at when we arrived at Exmouth and what the interest there was a number of questions that were asked in relation to the events there. I think again, you know, again the same colour, so the higher satisfaction there, the sort of the reddy colour and the blue indicated really across most of the events there was quite a bit of satisfaction. The popularity of the events, again, this is people who did attend, so in the blue bars, and then the orange one, people who didn't. So obviously the Whalebone Brewery and Pizza Night was a hit, the presentation night. The use of the bus service, and I'll come to this towards the end, that's probably one area that needs some further thought, given the peculiarities of Exmouth for the next event. Recovery breakfast, not too many people attended to that. I'm not sure whether they were, that it wasn't required or they hadn't recovered enough to actually get to the breakfast. So that numbers were down there. As Mike said, the community interaction day, that really represents it, sort of at least half the respondents were involved in that, and quite good satisfaction, people were pleased with that. For the whale shark tour, I guess not as many people did that, but for the ones who did, they found it a fantastic event, and in fact on our boat I think most of the people attended that. Everyone was very pleased. That was quite a good event there. So again, in summary, sort of very positive for all the events that were there. This one, as you see, we asked a range of sort of questions, and this one really was in relation to the presentation that Cam just gave and the performance of the sort of race officer and the backup team behind that. And again, you know, over 90% satisfied with how things went with sort of race reporting and communications. I think within that 9, those issues related perhaps to some of the boats that had 1 or 2 issues, as Cam mentioned, and some fondness for HF. So that really, but again, you know, that's very pleasing to see such a favourable response there. This one of the other questions we asked was in relation to the issues that people had on boats, and this was really perhaps twofold. One is to look at perhaps some information to feed back to skippers about what sort of things that happen to boats, and we all have problems, and what can occur, so in terms of planning for next time. And the other is really to give sort of race control, race organisers some flavour of the sort of incidents that happen, even some of those that were not reported or had to be dealt with, the types of things that occur. You can see this really indicates, of that survey sample, sort of half the boats actually had some sort of incident, albeit, a number or minor. These are the type of incidents. People were asked to just put down, what they had, where they had problems, and this is quite a range, as you would expect. I think we've all suffered from these at one stage or another in races or in sailing. Again, a few around communication, but not too many. Debris in water, I think, referred to the cray pot. A few engine problems, including some fuel blockages as well there. A few boats had instrumentation problems. I guess it didn't stop them in the end, but again, the sort of problems that you get with instruments. Quite a few sail problems, which when I looked at some of the data, that's probably all about trying to fly a spinnaker when maybe you shouldn't be.
The wrong spinnaker.
Oh, the wrong spinnaker.
Let's not get carried away.
So, and it is a race, so
yes,
of
right.
course, push it till it breaks and then go down a notch. One of the steering problems, I think that was mentioned, and a couple of boats need to plug a few holes, so there was water ingress. Nothing too serious though, I understand. So, look, it gives you a range of the types of incidents that you might get in preparing for the next event. Okay, this it's jumping around a bit, but this is satisfaction with the arrival at Exmouth, and again, you know, sort of the purple and the green in this case, right across the board. There was, you know, people were very pleased with the welcome that came, and the organisation around that, including, you know, the sausage sizzle, berthing facilities, the container, and, you know, general feedback. Perhaps there's one or two areas to improve, and I think that's contained in the notes that sort of people fed back. But again, I think that went down very well, in spite of some of the difficulties. I understand that in terms of, you know, actually the facility there at Exmouth, I don't think it really held anyone back from having a good time when they got there. The other thing was we thought was, you know, just test the interest and satisfaction with the shipping container, which went up and down, and I think really it was pretty well utilised. I think interpreting this as sort of half, this is in terms of respondents, so along the bottom here, so at least half the people involved, so that's boats and skippers and crews, etc., used the container either one way or both ways. So that was quite popular. Obviously, probably more so for the race boats, but I know just looking through the things, quite a few rally boats also used the container as well, so that was quite a positive. And I think that worked very well, actually. We certainly used it. Sort of turning now to the return journey, and as Mike mentioned, there's still a few who haven't. But some obviously just, you know, came back fairly soon, delivery voyage, but quite a majority of boats actually either stayed there to do other things or took a rather leisurely trip back, and even went further north as well. So, in fact, I think one of the questions was, what would you recommend? And this is it's quite a list. Some people went further north as well, you know, Montebello's, etc. Let's see a Kimberley in there, but and quite a few people, ourselves included, sort of wandered all the way south over about 3 weeks, 2 or 3 weeks. There was quite a few boats doing that, and I think that was really great, actually, to be able to sort of visit a lot of places on the way, and certainly our crew enjoyed that. So maybe that's you know, a subject for another topics night, for the cruising guys or something like that, to provide a bit more information about some of these destinations, because I think there is some fantastic cruising ground out there. Okay, there was some general feedback which we asked for, and really there was quite a fair bit of response there, and quite a range of sort of comments that were provided. So rather than go through them all, we sort of summarised it into sort of a few buckets here. As I said, the one reoccurring theme was around Exmouth transport, and look, it was a bit challenging. I guess Exmouth is fairly spread out, with the marina at one end, the town at the other, accommodation all over the place. I know in the lead up to it, the sort of taxis were on and they were off, bikes were on, but then bikes were off and maybe back on again. I think Exmouth was coping with sort of the influx of people and COVID uncertainty as well. I know some hire cars got booked out as well. So, look, it's something that perhaps we need to think about for the next one, and what can be done there. I know there were buses provided, but again, that becomes logistically a bit of a problem, and also a cost too for everyone in terms of buses. But certainly something we can look at in terms of next time. Maybe if you're going to hire a car, do it early. Maybe that's the trick. Sat phone, as Cam's noted there. Look, I think in reality most people liked it. We certainly did, and it has had a lot of benefits for it. Some obviously still perhaps lingering for HF. I know we have both, and certainly I've certainly for the SAT fund. The rally, there was quite a few comments on perhaps a couple of things around the rally, perhaps more stops on the way there, and that is perhaps and the timing of the rally and the race, and trying to work within the the departure time and the arrival time, etc. up there. So that's probably something to think about for the next one. And people, I think, in the rally side prefer perhaps to stop a bit more frequently on the way. And a comment, there's a few comments on the way back, and I think reflected by the number of different destinations that people went to on the way back. Maybe there's a call for sort of, probably not something formal like a rally, but maybe, you know, cruising in company or something of that nature. Something a little more, perhaps a little more spontaneous than a rally. Part of the challenge is sort of, you know, managing around weather events and things like that. So, you know, that becomes a bit challenging. But that's probably something to think about the way back. A more cruising company, or, you know, something that, you know, with boats are going in one direction, there's a sort of general understanding where people might go. And I know in some cases, I think there was a few bonfires on the beach organised with a few boats at a couple of places, so maybe something of that nature. So that's something to think about. But overall, a reoccurring comment in the or theme in the comment section was, you know, amazing. Wanted to do it again. So I think that's very pleasing. And really, you know, I think these last two charts really reflects that and summarises it. You know, we were asked, I think the question's expression of interest for Exmouth 23. No one in fact said no. I think 90% or so said yes straight off the bat, and a few are still making up their minds perhaps. In terms of spreading the word and recommending it, again, you know, strong support to get the word out there and support the next race, or next event, sorry, race and rally. So, as you know, that's really a summary. We'll put this on the web, but I think, you know, very pleasing result, and thanks again for everyone who responded. As Mike said, there's going to be a full moon for the next one, and I understand the Mayor of Exmouth has been rebooked. Is that right?
Thanks, Ian. Any questions?
Yes, I've got a question. Were there any records of the uptake on the environmental and waste management project?
We'll have to talk to Anita about that. Anita is...
In her absence, we might get a report.
Yeah, we'll,
Yes.
we'll ask Anita, but there was quite a lot of boats were involved in it, so lots of boats sorted their rubbish on the way back, had minimal rubbish, so it was taken up quite well.
And let's hope that in the next event that there'll be perhaps something a bit more exciting, and that there will be a bigger take-up.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. Yeah, well, we did give some awards out.
I've got a question. Was there space for bikes in the container?
What was that?
Would there be space for bikes in the container? I mean, we managed...
Oh, yeah. Well, there was space for bikes. With the container, we perhaps didn't advertise it as well as we could, because it was a big financial cost up front, so we committed early on, initially to a 20-footer, and then went to the 40-footer when it was pretty obvious that the 20 would be filled up. Next time, it'll be part of the event. It did cost us money, the container, but I think next time we'll actually make it part of the event. So it's in the, I guess, at the bottom line that's there. Whether we make money or cover our costs, that's neither here nor there. But it certainly could have bikes in it, no problems at all. I think we only had 2 in there. There was enough room to put a bit more stuff in there.
Yeah, because we did manage to source some bikes from a company that wasn't up and running yet, just by word of mouth. And it made a massive difference to our experience there. So it may be a solution to the transport problem if there's a...
Yeah, well, we've looked, rest assured all of this information we've got, we're working our way through it, and it will be applied to the next event. Obviously we're not trying to reinvent anything. The things that work will keep working. We've also, because it was so popular up there, I mean, as far as the community went, we're pretty sure we'll get some more sponsorship out of the companies up there. We know we will, so we've already had people pestering us to give us some money. But we're leaving that till a little bit further down the track. As far as the cost of the actual, I know we pay a lot of money ourselves for nomination fees and crew fees. We'll probably have to push that up a little bit next time round, depending on the number of boats. Because we have a break-even point with the boats. We need about 20, 25 boats to actually make it financially viable. Again, it will be a Cat 2 event next time round, so start any modifications or things you do to your boats, make sure that they're Cat 2. Any other questions?
You mentioned about the bus transport.
Yeah, that
I didn't know about it.
No, well, it didn't work.
Okay.
We did advertise it, but we were still running around getting a bus route probably 2 days, I think. 2 days? About 2 days before. It turns out I actually know the guy that owns the company, and after a long talk to him, he said, well, he'll do anything we want, and next time around it'll be probably smaller buses. And we looked at everything from hiring a bus here, taking it up, like a coaster type thing, and as we did for the previous, the Splasher was done for, and volunteers driving that. We've got a lot of options. Again, it's the take up, and it's like the container, you know, if we can get, for the next time around, if we advertise early enough and we get more take up, obviously economically it'll be much better. The bus, I mean, they were the two things that cost us money, was the bus and the container.
Well, I just wanted to say about the comms, it was really good that you had my phone number, but I found out from communications from here that Vodafone didn't work there. So I had a different phone number, but they sent SMSs to my other one. So just from a comms perspective, maybe it says, does your SIM work in Exmouth? Okay, and if it's a lot of different providers, they don't. So
yeah, I mean, we got told that Exmouth's comms, you know, their phone system is
so I didn't think of
crap.
sharing my new phone number.
Yeah.
So you guys were communicating with me.
Yeah. No worries. Any other questions? Anybody? Robbie?
What if the mayor is not the mayor?
Pardon me?
What if the mayor's
What
not the mayor?
if the mayor is not the mayor?
Well, yeah.
And we have a political incident.
Yeah, could have been. Yeah. Okay, our Commodore's going to come up and say a few words. I know this is a pretty dry evening, but we thought it really important that we show you what we do behind the scenes for the next one, so that, you know, whoever wants to take over this position next time.
Charles, just one question.
Yeah.
Have you considered asking Poweries?
Yeah, well, we did spread the word, and it's open to everybody. I mean, we did
Cool.
put that out there. We did talk to the our boats captain about it, but again, I mean, it's something we can do. It's something food for thought next time around, and maybe as far as the rally side of things, we're open to suggestions with that. We were actually thinking for next time around that we have a finish time rather than a departure time. So we say you get there on Wednesday 12 o'clock. That's and you can leave whatever time prior to that. But again, there's a cost to it because with the yellow bricks, we need them for safety. So that has to be budgeted in as well. But you could leave a week before, a month before, it wouldn't really matter. That's better for the spectacle for us all to go together. But we're open to suggestions as far as how that works if people wanted to stop on the way up.
Oh, just a comment, there is another company out there that does a tracker the same as Yellow Brick, an Australian guy, Blue Water Tracks.
Yeah,
give you a better deal.
Yeah, we're aware of that, and we did have a look at it.
Talk to Grant.
And we've looked at it. I know Tubbs looked at it, Cam's looked at it. We looked at it for Geraldton a couple of years ago. and it works. We know it works. I used it for Osaka. But you keep coming back to yellow brick for all the obvious reasons. Yeah. Thank you. Thanks for coming.
Right, thanks, Mike, and more importantly, thank you all for coming. It's I understand this Exmouth Rally and Race has been a long journey, so we do appreciate your coming tonight. Just if you indulge me for a moment, I was listening to Cam's presentation, and it reminded in '81 the barley race. So these days we're getting feedback within minutes. I recall that Graham Lever's boat, a boat called Aloha, disappeared for about 7 days. They just got lost. That was the fact of life. It blew up and got a bit ugly, and they disappeared. So I'm just thinking that times are changing. I mean, we know where we are, and more importantly, the race controllers know where we are. So look, I thank you all again for coming tonight. Again, I'd like to thank our sponsors and reiterate that this event would not have happened without our sponsors. It is an expensive event to run. Our major sponsor, MG Kalis, Wild Exmouth Prawns. The event sponsors, International Graphite, Phil, Club Marine, One Sales, Paul's here this evening. Westminster Gin, Shire of Exmouth and Potshot Inn. Event supporters include North Sales, Whalebone Brewing, DOT and UK Sales. So look, there's been a whole range of different sponsors to make this event so successful. And already, as Mike alluded to earlier, we have input from, mostly from the Exmouth community, who are keen to be involved again because obviously they've seen how successful it's been. And I'll just digress for a second again. Given that the event has been perceived to be so successful, we've had contact from the Indonesian consulate. They think that perhaps we should be looking at Indonesia again in 2023. So perhaps there'll be a bidding war. Anyway, that's a long time off. So as I mentioned, the Carters Group in particular are interested in doing it again. Which has already been stated. It'll be the 6th of May in 2023. And they stole my thunder by announcing it was going to be a full moon, because I spent an hour and a half looking that up. So I'm a big full moon proponent. I just love the fact that you sail on a full moon. So there it is. So put it in your diaries, book your holidays. It'll be bigger and better. But again, I congratulate the winners of all the different sections. It was a very successful event. But more importantly, I congratulate the vast majority who participated, because you know what, it's an experience, and if it gives nothing else, it gives you the confidence to take your boat elsewhere and do bigger and better things. So it's more important that the participants get the recognition. I'd like to thank again, I know I've mentioned this a couple of times, about the volunteers. There were some 60 volunteers that got this event up and running. We always recognise the CEO and the ARO and Vice-Com or whatever, but it's about the, I call them the minions, who put their shoulders to the wheel and make this event happen. As I said, 60 people it takes to get it up and to be a successful event. So I thank each and every one of them. So, and finally, I'd like to mention again the fact that the FSC staff were exemplary, from Karen right through to the admin staff, to the communication staff and so forth. You know, as I said, it's a big impost upon their weeks to get it all to happen, so we thank them immensely. So that's it. It's a wrap. Do you like that? So we'll see you all on the 6th of May 2023, and we'll do it all again. Thank you.